Welcome back to Perth City Talks. We are at the Drug Forum here at the Royal Perth Yacht Club, and we've been speaking to some of the keynote speakers. Stay with us.
You've heard terrible stories. What I see a lot in my patients, I'm a doctor in Queensland, is it's not even about the patients, not even about the drugs. It's about mum was an alcoholic, mum was a heroin addict, my father died when I was 4 from a heroin overdose, and mum died 2 weeks later. And their parents were violent and abusive, and it just cascades down. It's just on my heart. Does anyone know what the difference between a sin and an iniquity is for people who believe in God? And there's obviously a few of you here. An iniquity is a life-deforming, life-transforming, life-destroying pattern of destruction. Today we would use the word addiction. Every time, and this is, remember I said it's not about the patient, it's not about the drug, it's not fundamentally. Every time in the good book, they pray that the Lord will forgive the iniquities, the addictions of the fathers. The whole culture changes. I just want to pray because it's what's really on my heart. Dear God, I just bring to you this situation. God, it's obvious you don't want us to use drugs as a community, but it's obvious that a lot of people in this community use drugs to deal with stuff they can't deal with. God, I pray that you'll forgive the iniquities of the fathers, and that you'll heal the soul of this nation and the soul of these people, God, until your love sets the whole country free. In Jesus' name. Amen.
With the methamphetamines, you've got nothing. What's happening in our nation now, right, is going to be really, really scary. It's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. People are smoking methamphetamines like they are cannabis. Methamphetamines has claws. And it's not as easy just saying, hey, stop. And I'm going to show you what's happening. This is pretty big. This is surreal. It's not just affecting the person. It's desecrating the whole family structure. It is really, really evil. And I'm going to show you how the dark. So let's step outside of everything, outside of time, and let's step outside and let's try to look down on the planet. Imagine if you're God. Now, I'm going to unpack my life, and through my life I'm going to show you why I went where I went and what was happening to me, and I'm going to show you also what methamphetamines is doing to people. Would you like to hear? Yes. Okay, so there's a light, there's a dark, there's a good, there's a bad, there's a God, there's a devil. Every circumstance we face determines a choice we're going to make, which is going to give us an outcome. We are where we are because of our choices. The second you popped out your old cheese's tummy, your mummy's tummy, you began to be programmed. You're programmed by the way that your mum and dad brought you up. You're programmed by the schools that you went to. You're programmed by the circumstances that you faced, both good and bad. Every decision you make has a consequence. Now, the second we popped out of mum's tummy, we begin to be programmed. Everybody would want to be programmed this way, wouldn't we? Both of these forces actually want to get in you. And if they get in you, they operate through you, and they produce the fruit of who they are. I don't know about you, but I want this man in me. I love this man. He makes my heart flutter. This one here, he don't make my heart flutter. He had me for a long time. He got no more. Now, I'm the second eldest of 5 kids. I come from a broken home, pretty dysfunctional. Mum and Dad were drinking a lot, and Dad was used to spend a lot of time at work. 5 kids living in Lockridge. I remember I got up one morning, and I heard Mum and Dad arguing. The babysitter had slept over the night because she got locked out. She lived a few doors up. And she slept in the house, and I heard Mum and Dad arguing in the morning, and it turned out Dad slept with the babysitter. And as I walked out the lounge, I see Mum with a pot. She just threw this pot and clunged him for her in the back of the head. And then my dad moved out of the house, and he moved into a motel up the road in Eden Hill. And I used to pop in and see my dad every day. On the way to school, I'd get on my push bike. I was a 7-year-old kid. And I'd go and see my dad and knock on the door and say, hey, Dad, do you want anything from the shops? And he'd give me $10. I'd give him a packet of smokes and a loaf of bread, and he'd say, son, keep the change. And I really loved my dad. I didn't understand what was happening with Mum and Dad. Even as a kid before that, mentally I blocked out of what happened before I was 7. But I really loved my dad. I really, really loved my dad. And I remember every day I used to knock on the door and say, Dad, you want something from the shops? He'd give me the change. I remember one day even laid on the bed with him at Anzac, watching an Anzac movie, and they're probably the best memories I've ever had of my dad. And one day I banged on the door, and I banged on the door, and I banged on the door again, and there was no answer. And I remember I walked away, and as I walked away, I seen a fellow with a wheelbarrow raking up some leaves. I said, hey bro, well mate, have you seen my dad? And the bloke says to me, he says, oh, your dad moved out yesterday. And I remember when the second he said, my dad moved out yesterday, I heard this voice, your dad's left you. And I felt this overwhelming rejection come on top of me. I just felt really sad and sick on the inside. I felt something go from my head and it landed in my heart. Something went in there. I know it. Well, I didn't know it. I didn't understand all this stuff. I'm only a little kid. Every decision we make has a consequence. I'm starting to face circumstances that I didn't create, but even as a little kid I still had to make the choice. Now, between the ages of 7 and 9, it seemed like my whole world fell apart. Mum started getting with a couple of fellas and drinking more and more, and one particular bloke that she had, he was a really violent fella, and he used to grab my mum by the hair and he'd drag her around the house and he'd lay into her head, and I'd walk out in the lounge one morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'd see Mum on the end of the lounge with her face covered in blood, 2 black eyes, broken, false teeth snapped in half, trying to glue her teeth back together. This bloke used to drag my mum up the street 3 o'clock in the morning. I've seen some stuff that I shouldn't see as a little kid. I had fear, anxiety, rejection, confusion, all this stuff was happening in me. Now, I remember my mum tried to get some help, so they put her into a rehabilitation centre. She went into Serenity Lodge, and all us kids was dispersed. My brothers and sisters went to my grandparents. My older sister Judy went to a friend, and me, being the oldest boy, I wanted to stay with mum. So they put me in a children's and foster families down in Rockingham, Amanda, where Serenity Lodge was, and I kept running away. I didn't want to be with strangers. I'm a little kid. All I want is my mum and my dad. And so I ran away, and then they caught me, they took me back, ran away, and they put me with another one, and ran away. Mum would get out, go back to mum, the same stuff would happen. I was the sort of kid that went to school and had to pitch other kids' lunches because mum drank all the money. I remember the last time she put me in a Parkerville Children's Home. And I'm up at Parkerville Children's Home. I'd run away from Parkerville Children's Home. Up until that point, I'd never actually committed a crime. They found me sleeping in the Good Samaritan bin at the Midland Gate Shopping Centre. And by that age, I was 9. By that age I was 9, and I remember when I walked into the children's home, I hadn't seen my dad since he took off when he was 7. I walked into the children's home, they took me in the office, and as I walked in, I seen the counsellor lady here, and I seen my dad sitting there. And I'm sort of taken off guard because I hadn't seen him for 2 years. And the chick says to me, she says, "Peter, you obviously don't want to be here anymore. You're wasting our time and our resources. And we're going to give you a choice. You can either go to Longmore, or you can go with your dad." And when I looked at my dad, I heard this voice, and this voice whispered to my head, "He doesn't love you anymore." I remember I thought about it. I checked with all the hurt and all the brokenness in my heart, and I felt something go from here to here. My God, the anger that came upon me. I remember saying, "Yeah, that's right." And from that day forward, I hated that man's guts. I wouldn't have been through what I've been through in that last 2 years if he had been my dad. If he had protected me. I had hatred and unforgiveness and bitterness towards him. Something came in my heart. What is in us operates through us. Every circumstance we face determines the choice we're going to make, which is going to give us an outcome. A lot of us don't want to be who we are, but we don't understand there's something happening on the inside. We are being programmed. I'm not a religious fella, but I love God. I love God. His word is not just a book. It's an instruction manual for us to live the life that He's called us to live. It's alive, it's living, it's active, it's real. I'm not a religious man, but I know it's true. Now, from the age of 7 to the age of 9, lots of other stuff happened. My dad actually took me to Longmore after that day. He took me there at 1 o'clock in the morning, drove up to the gates. I remember I got out of the car, I started walking towards the gates, and I turned around and looked back and I said my dad walking to the car with the babysitter in the passenger seat, the lady they ran away with. They took me into the admin area, they stripped me naked, they put neck cream in my hair and some crab cream from other places. They gave me 6 comic books and they marched me down a row of prison cells. I'm a 9-year-old little boy. I got put in a prison because I wanted my mum and my dad. I'd done nothing wrong, I never hurt anybody. All I want is my mum and my dad. They marched me down the row of prison cells, they threw me in the cell, they bolted up the door, I grabbed a hold of my pillow and I jumped on the bed and I cried. If you let me out now, I'll behave. I won't run away again. I just want my mum and my dad. And I heard this voice and it whispered to my head, "From now on, you're going to have to look after yourself." And I said to myself, "Yeah, that's right. From this day forward, I'm going to look after me." Again, something went from my head and it landed in my heart. A lot of us don't want to be who we are, but we don't know how to change. It is not just as easy to say, "Stop using drugs." It's not just as easy. So then I spent 3 months in that place, and in that 3 months in that place, I met a lot of people, a lot of kids, little kids, 7-year-old kids, 9-year-old kids, 15, 16. I met a lot of kids who had stories like mine. Mum had done this and Dad had done this had broken down. We were all trapped. We got put in a prison. Other people made stupid choices, we made stupid choices, and the cycle continues. In that 3 months I spent in that place, I met a lot of people like me who had stories like mine. I finally had a family. My last 2 years, my family dumped me. My mum chose alcohol, my dad chose another woman. Now I've got a family, and I actually made them my family. I spent 3 months in that place, and when I got out I went to another rehabilitation centre, a children's home called Wansley. When I got to Wansley, I met a lot of kids who come from that same children's home, from Longmore. I started doing things I'd never done before, breaking houses, stealing cars, sticking picks in my arms. I became what they call institutionalised. I'd be out for a day, back in for a month, out for a month, back in for 11 months. I spent 7 years locked up in a boys' prison. I spent 2 years locked up in Riverbank. I became what they call institutionalised. Graduated prison in 1991. I've also spent time in all the prisons in Western Australia. And up until 2001, I got out of prison in 2000. After doing 1 year of a 5-year sentence, I started selling drugs full-time for a living. Within 3 months, I'm selling 2.5 kilos of methamphetamines a day. I drive around with an average of 16 handguns on the seat, 9 mils, 44s, Glocks. I was doing lots and lots of silly stuff. I hated who I was. There's a lot of times in my 26 years of institutions and prisons that I didn't want to be who I was. Normal, productive members of society. I felt like I was a weed, that I didn't belong, that I can't fit, that I don't feel like them. They're gooder than me. I'm useless, I'm worthless, I'm the scum of the earth. Nobody loves me. The quickest way to fix a problem is to stick a pick in your arm and smoke a pipe. When you've been using drugs, you do it for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. Problem comes, pick. Problem comes, pick. If you're not on the whipper, you're on the chuff. If you're not on the chuff, you're on the alcohol. If you're not on the alcohol, my gosh, from drug to drug to drug, it's like a Gatling pony. It's not as easy as just saying stop. 26 years I've been sticking picks in my arms. And I used to give people shots and chuck them donuts on the floor. But I hated who I was. A lot of times I actually tried to stop. But because of how I felt on the inside, I went back to where I felt comfortable. But the problem is, where everyone I feel comfortable around, they're all doing stuff that I don't want to do. How the heck do you stop? It's not as easy as just saying stop.
That's Tadros for Perth City Talks.